The West Memphis Three. On the afternoon of May 5, 1993, three 8-year-old boys left Weaver Elementary School in West Memphis, Arkansas, to go bike riding before dinner. Stevie Branch, Christopher Byers, and Michael Moore. They were all members of the same Cub Scout pack. They were best friends. They never came home. That evening at 7 p.m., John Mark Byers, the adoptive father of Christopher Byers, called the police to report the boys missing. By the next morning, May 6, 1993, officers found the three boys naked, beaten, and tied with their own shoelaces in a water-filled drainage ditch in a wooded area of town known locally as Robin Hood Hills. Christopher Byers had been mutilated. West Memphis was a deeply religious small town. The police had no leads, no suspects, and no physical evidence connecting anyone to the crime. What they did have was a juvenile probation officer named Jerry Driver, who had been convinced for years that a satanic cult was operating in the area. Driver had been watching an 18-year-old high school dropout named Damian Eccles, who wore black clothing, listened to heavy metal music, and claimed to practice Wicca. Driver shared his suspicions with police. Eccles was brought in for questioning on May 7, 1993, then again on May 9th, then again on May 10th. No evidence connected him to the crime. He had an alibi, but the police kept coming back to him. On June 3, 1993, police brought in a 17-year-old named Jesse Miskelly Jr. for questioning. Miskelly had an IQ of approximately 72. He was interrogated for approximately 12 hours without a lawyer or parent present. Only 46 minutes of that interrogation were recorded. At the end of those 12 hours, Miskelly confessed to the murders, implicating himself, Eccles, and 16-year-old Jason Baldwin. The confession was riddled with factual errors. Miskelly claimed the boys had been sexually assaulted with rope, and that the murders happened in the morning. The boys had actually been bound with shoelaces, and the murders happened in the evening. The police told reporters Miskelly was simply confused. Miskelly recanted his confession the very next day. It did not matter. All three teenagers were arrested on June 3, 1993. The prosecution built their entire case around one argument. These boys wore black. They listened to heavy metal. They were Satanists who murdered three children as part of a ritual sacrifice. No physical evidence connected any of them to the crime. All three had alibis. None of it mattered. In February 1994, Jesse Miskelly was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison plus two 20-year sentences. In March 1994, Damian Eccles was convicted and sentenced to death. Jason Baldwin was convicted and sentenced to life in prison. Three teenagers went to prison for a crime they almost certainly did not commit because an entire community was convinced that Satan worshippers were hiding among them. In 1996, HBO released a documentary called Paradise Lost, which exposed massive holes in the police investigation. Celebrities including Johnny Depp and Eddie Vedder began publicly supporting the case for their release. In 2007, DNA testing excluded all three men from every piece of crime scene evidence. A hair found tied into the ligature binding one of the victims matched Terry Hobbs, the stepfather of Stevie Branch. No new arrests were ever made. On August 19, 2011, after 18 years in prison, Damian Eccles, Jason Baldwin, and Jesse Miskelly entered Alford pleas which allowed them to assert their innocence while acknowledging the state had enough evidence to convict them. They walked free that day. The murders of Stevie Branch, Christopher Byers, and Michael Moore remain officially unsolved.